Yeah. So hey guys, I'm back. So we wanted to test if this was a carriage return and carriage return line feed. So if you open here, this is what I did. Carriage return line feed. We run the pipeline and let's see if it runs. Yeah, it runs. And to make sure it runs, you look at rows reading, everything looks good. We go to the database, the Synapse, and we run a select, we get the record. So there's no duplicate because we always truncate and load, even though we run it multiple times. So that is the first part of this pipeline, as you can see. So we got into the staging layer, and the second step is to use the main statement to do an offset into the target. So, so for this part, we need to implement a main statement, and that can be done either in a stop procedure or a SQL script. So, you know, I'm very adventurous today. I want to try the SQL script. I heard that, um, the Microsoft created a SQL script functionality to execute the queries. I believe it's somewhere here. Yeah, SQL script. So we're gonna try that. But before we try that, let's check that from here if it actually works. So let's do that. Let's see if we can create that SQL script. And I last time I tried to copy and paste from a website the main statement. So let's copy that and so let's put the main statement. So we merge into the target. So as you can see, video.target table using the state table. And our primary key is our ID column. So state table is your source, don't forget. And when the records match, update the records in case any change. Well, we just don't need to do this because we actually are lazy. In this case, we just want to blindly update the records even if no record change. Like, because that's a more advanced feature, I guess. He's trying to update only when he sees the record change. But at this point, this is demo. Let's keep it simple. I'm gonna update regardless. So I got the target, which is my alias, and I'll say update the name column with the source from the name. I want to update the weight as well. And update the weight. Also want to, so in this case, as you can see, this is null. So which is fine because this is a full load data set. is null because everything is an insert. Maybe they don't have these columns. And that's one thing I wanted to explain as well. When you do CDC, you will notice that the click replicate tool, the CDC tools add these fields for you as metadata fields that they don't is not actually exist in your source system. These are fields that are added solely by the change data capture tool, and they don't actually exist, like I said, in the source table, but these help you to do your incremental load. So that's why right now we added it into the state table and left it null, but you see that it's useful when we do the merge and for the target. So what I can do here is that I can update that. I can update. Uh, I can update using. There are two things I can do. I can either default it to the latest data. I update it using the staging table. So I'm just gonna update it using the staging table just to be on the, I would say, consistent side. That way, we all every data comes from the source. But all this can change depending on your requirement, depending on who is your lead, uh, architects, what the standards they follow. So, well, in this case, I'm just gonna keep it very simple. So, again, this is real world. I like the reason why I like this is because, as you can see, I don't memorize all this code. I just literally go in the real world. I'm going to Google. Google is your best friend. I'm copying and pasting, but and just modifying it. But the important thing to know also note is as a developer, you tend to wait. Let's make sure make statement in Synapse. 'Cause sometimes the syntax is different, so let's make sure that I'm using the right one. For the examples, blah blah blah. When my okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think we're in the right track. So modify date, target, modify date, soft modify date. Now we're gonna do target transaction type. As we can see here, as I was saying, in the real world, Google is your best friend. You copy stuff from Google, but you have to know what you are copying, right? You have to make sure you understand it and don't copy blindly. When no records are matched, insert the incoming records. All right, so when not matched, target, then insert, right? So I'm gonna insert into this table. So I'm inserting the ID. Uh, I'm inserting the name. I'm inserting the weight. I'm inserting the modified date and the transaction type. So as you can see right here, source.name, source.weight, source.modify date, and then source.transaction type. So right now, uh, so that's that's it, right? We just need now to run this. Why is it complaining? Anyway, let's run this SQL script. Anyway, we can always truncate the target table and do it again, but for now, let's test this thing works. Let's test if this works. And currency that's near line 18. All right. You know what? It's better to put it in a new script. Use empty script. What I do is copy this so that um, when I run it, if there's any errors, I can see. So it doesn't like this merge. So let's make sure I'm using the right syntax. Seems right. Let's just copy this. Seems correct, right? Merge. Interesting. It's interesting that the, 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 the error is coming for this guy, but not this guy. So go figure. Yeah, some error is showing actually. Man, expecting of begin something. Expecting a begin. Oh, no, nope, still not happy. Okay, we need to probably end it. Still doesn't like it. All right. Let's see. Let me see one thing. Interesting, right? Okay. So it doesn't like it to be the uh, first word. So for some reason, it doesn't like it. But you know what? Let's try run it. Let's see. Incorrect syntax. Yeah. All right. Go on again. Line at line 10. So I'm missing something. One, two, three, four, five. Okay. One, two, three, four. Oh, I'm missing one. That's why it's spelling. See? That's how to debug. And debugging, like I said, is more important sometimes than just knowing, especially in the real world. This is the difference between having a horrible experience uh, in your first day of the job and actually knowing what you're doing. So source dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So somehow it doesn't like this. Let's look at this one. Then wait, have the bracket. Oh, it's looking for an end or something. Or it's looking for some kind of semicolon. That's what it's saying. Okay, let's run again. So it needs to have a semicolon at the end. Main statements. So main statement with a when not match. Let's think about it. So main statement, right? When there is a match, right? And say when not matched by target. I think when not matched by source actually. Wait, so let's run it again. Okay. So when not matched by target, you're saying that clause must with a when not matched by target clause must target a hash distributed table. So it's telling us that there's a condition in this where they expect this target table to be a hash distributed table. It's a requirement for a merge statement in Azure Synapse. I didn't know this, but okay. So we means we have to recreate this table. We have to do a hash distribution on the ID. because that way, you know, if it can actually, I don't even know the syntax, hash distributed table, uh, syntax, distribution hash. So, so the idea is anybody that if you are familiar with Azure Synapse, the high distribution tries to evenly distribute the table across the various slices, as you can see, across the various compute nodes based on the ID value. So um, I guess this is a requirement to enable efficient computation. So we're just gonna do it because for the demo purpose, we really have a small data set, so technically it shouldn't really matter for us. But because this is a requirement, we really have no choice but to do what um, the synapse tells us. Right? So it's all part of learning. Drop, so I drop the table and I create the table again and I try the merge statement again. So let's see if it runs. So it executed. So now we can actually do a select from the table. Data should be there. Let's see. Woo, nice. So we have some data. So as you can see, the data is null. We don't like this null actually. That means we made some mistake. Um, I would just, what I would do is instead of doing the, what's it called? When I load the state table, at that moment, I would actually prefer to add a default value um, when I load the state table to those to those to those columns. That's ideally what I would do. But let's see how we can do that. So we have different options um, when we from the source we know those fields are not there when we load the state table, but then when we load the target table and we do the merge, uh, obviously there's no record on day one. There's no record in the target table, so this condition never gonna happen. So it's always gonna be when not matched. So when not matched, most likely we can do one thing is we can pick this up from the source system or the source table, which in this case is null, or we can, um, you know, hard code a get date and a value of insert. But that would mean that when we have an incremental record, even though it's an update, it's gonna be insert. So I don't really like that approach because it's not really what I intended in this screenshot here. So what I would do is I would actually say when I create the table, so there's a way we can actually, during table creation, you can do a default, right? You can do a default value, right? So that is something I can leverage in this scenario to address this full load issue. So, or there's another way we can have another script in place to update this record, but if it's not updated now. But this is, I think this is the cleanest way to do it, to have a default value here where we update this to the get date. So let's see. Let's Google it. For value. Oh, or tradable, blah, 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 blah. So we default. All right. This is what it is. So look at how we can do it. So default, you can say get date and default here. Default insert. By the way, did I have, okay, uppercase, I did uppercase. Let's keep it uppercase, uppercase. So let's drop the table again on our pipeline and see. Let's drop the table, state table, run this. So it doesn't allow expressions. That's a bummer. Um, that's a bummer. So it only works if I specify a given value. Let's see. Yeah, it will. That's a bummer actually, because ideally we don't want to hard code the date over here. We actually just want to have it, but it doesn't really matter anyway, because the main point is that um, actually, yeah, it makes sense to hard code it actually, because this is, from our point of view, this is a this modified date for the full load. Imagine when you're loading the historical data, you actually might not know when exactly was this first inserted, especially if they don't have any modified data in the source system, you actually don't know. So you try to keep the earliest date you can think of as the default